Most people think that you need a large, professional, expensive camera in order to take clean cinematic shots. But believe it or not, your iPhone can do this. Today I'm going to show you the exact settings, accessories, and angles that I use to make my iPhone footage look professional. And I'll throw in a light comparison with my Sony a7 IV so you can see the difference between the two and how closely the iPhone can get to a professional grade camera. If you have any of the recent iPhone Pros or Pro Maxes, you are sitting on a filmmaking powerhouse and you just don't know it yet. If you have the storage on your iPhone, switch to ProRes. It handles highlights better and gives you way more flexibility when color grading. This will give your iPhone a flat color profile with more dynamic range, which is going to be huge for car videos, especially in sunlight. If you don't have enough storage on your phone, you can always add on an external SSD like this one. And if you're looking for an SSD, a really good one, I'll leave one in the description down below. I recommend filming your car videos in 4K 24 frames per second or 30 frames per second for cinematic shots. If you want to do slow motion, you're going to want to shoot in 4K 60 frames per second, but in order to do that on Apple ProRes, you have to use an external hard drive like this one. Between these two, you're going to cover 100% of the needs that you have. My recommendation is to turn off HDR unless you know how to work with it in post-processing. HDR can make your footage look amazing or completely chaotic depending on the lighting. Next, I recommend locking your white balance so your color doesn't shift mid-shot. Cars have a ton of reflective surfaces and the iPhone sometimes freaks out if it's left on auto. A nice little tip that I like to use is exposure locking. If you tap and hold on the brightest part of the frame, you can lock your exposure. This keeps the iPhone from blowing out car paint or even the sky itself. And just as an example, here is what log looks like straight out of the phone, and then here is the same clip after a simple color grade. A very big difference. Now, if you want to get a similar look to what I just showed on screen, I actually have a link for you in the description down below where you can pick up a simple pack of conversion LUTs for Apple ProRes. This is going to be completely free and it'll get you started on color grading journey. And again, it's just going to be the baseline stuff. So it takes you from ProRes RAW to Rec 709, which is the industry standard. And then from there, you can manipulate with the color however you want. So check it out in the link down in the description below and pick it up for free for yourself. Shooting on your iPhone by itself can sometimes be a little cumbersome and sometimes your footage can get kind of shaky. So I recommend picking something up like this, like some form of grip that goes onto your phone like so that way you have a little bit of a better grip on your phone. Now I did make a video on the types of iPhone accessories that you should get if you want to do photography or even filmmaking. I'll leave the link in the description down below for you to go check it out. It's a part of this same series that you're watching right now. If you're going to be filming outside, you need to have a variable ND filter. This is going to help keep your exposure under control in bright sunlight situations and helps you hit the proper shutter speed. If you don't know what that is, it's called the 180-degree rule, which means whatever you're shooting at as far as frames per second, your shutter speed should be double that. So if you're shooting at 30 frames per second, it should be 60 as your shutter speed. If you're shooting at 24, 48 or 50, I think is like where it's at, that type of thing. Having a variable ND filter will help you control light when you are setting your shutter speed to a very specific number. A mini tripod is another great tool to use if you want to get static shots. This grip that I have in particular has a 1/4-inch thread on the bottom of it, so I can attach this to any tripod, or you can get one that's dedicated for phones as well. And this is going to be able to set you up with those more static cinematic looks where maybe you're moving or the car is moving in the shot itself. The honorable mention I want to talk about here is a phone gimbal. You can get a phone gimbal if you want, but it's not necessary because with newer phones, depending on what lens you're using, there is internal stabilization. On my 15 Pro Max, it's the main lens, which is the 1x lens. So if you just have really good control as you're moving your phone around, you don't really need to have a gimbal. But if you're one of those people who just want to get the most stable footage possible, you can opt in for a gimbal. When it comes to angles and movements for the most cinematic car footage, you want to start off with your static angles. A low front quarter, rear quarter, or even a straight on headshot is going to make the cars look very powerful and look dynamic. Cars look the best from the lowest angles possible, so don't be afraid to get down on the ground. For dynamic movement, you want to move slowly. The slower the phone moves, the more cinematic your shots feel. This is where you would shoot in 60 frames per second, so you can slow it down even further in post.
and we're gonna just do some orbital shots like this. So we're gonna do our ninja walk as good as we can. And right now we're using the 1X lens on the phone, which has the stabilization. So between shooting 60 frames per second and using the 1X lens on the iPhone, we should be able to get decent stabilization out of it. So we're gonna go a little bit further around the car. So we're gonna go like this. Maybe shooting directly into the sun is not a good idea, but this looks cinematic. It's backlit, and I like backlit subjects sometimes. We're gonna do it again, just to make sure. And what we're doing is we're just trying to turn the camera as we're walking around. So as we orbit, we're turning the camera.
Try certain things like a slow slide to reveal the car, a gentle push in toward the grille, or a smooth pull out from a detail like the headlights. Get all the detail shots that you can. Wheels, badges, lights, interior. These make your edit feel intentional and give character to the car. If you want to do tracking shots for the car while it's moving, you can easily do it as a beginner if somebody else is driving the car for you slowly through a parking lot and then you just walk beside it. Another option is to rig up your phone inside of your car to get a shot looking out of the window at another car, or maybe you're taking a shot of the mirror of your car to get that more cinematic feel looking in the background. Be sure to add a foreground element into your shot. If you have other cars around you, if you have other objects like signs or posts or trees, bushes, whatever, use this to give your footage more depth immediately.
And so as we pull back, we're revealing the foreground elements. So when we come up here, you don't see them. When we pull back, you see them. Okay, so that's introducing the foreground elements. Get a little bit better exposure there. I'm looking at my histogram to see how my exposure is, and you want to be slightly overexposed when it comes to log footage. And so the way that I'm able to best gauge how that looks is by using the histogram.
Now, in terms of how the iPhone stands up against a professional camera like my Sony a7 IV, here are a couple of video comparisons that I've shot, which are similar movements, similar angles between the two. And this is just to illustrate that it is possible to make the iPhone footage look really good and professional like you can on the Sony camera. First off, the dynamic range. The iPhone is going to hold highlights better than you expect, and the Sony still has that smoother roll off. And then the detail, the Sony is still going to be a little bit sharper, but the iPhone is shockingly good for what it's capable of doing, especially if you have good light. And that's the key, is you need to have really good lighting. Color is going to be different from camera to camera. Each camera has their own color science, so the iPhone is going to look slightly different than the Sony, but you can manipulate it in post if you want to get it as close as possible. Again, LUTs are going to be your best friend here. The goal of this is not to replace a professional camera with your iPhone. The goal is to show you that if all you have available to you is the iPhone, you can still get really good quality video out of it. It is very different than it is filming on a professional camera like my Sony. So do keep that in mind if you are learning on your phone when it comes to filming. Once you switch to something like a professional camera, it is going to be vastly different, and there are going to be different obstacles that you have to overcome. But in the meantime, while you do have an iPhone and maybe don't have a professional camera, you can at least learn the basics of filmmaking with this phone. If you found this video to be helpful for you, please be sure to leave a like down below. And if you want to see more videos like this, consider hitting the subscribe button because it definitely supports me and this channel. And again, check out the description down below with all the helpful resources, videos, LUTs, stuff like that. Grab your free download if you haven't done so already. And that's all I have for now. If you have any questions, be sure to let me know in the comments down below. I will see you all next time.